talk about land stewardship. It's something that we don't really talk about too terribly often, but it's a question of what do we actually do with the land once we've purchased it, and we haven't quite transferred it over to the National Park Service or another entity. Do we do to actually steward the land? And today I'd like to give you an overview of how we manage our properties. I'd like to highlight some of our most well-visited trail parks. I'd like to review some of our most consequential restoration projects, some of the real head turners. And I'd like to highlight a couple of our current 2020 projects that we are just now wrapping up. Now, today we have over 11,000 acres of land right now that we are currently owning in 14 states. We have 16 working farms. We maintain 9 historic structures currently. We're also the caretakers for several family graves and cemeteries. And we have 12 public trails that are open 365 days a year from dawn to dusk. The interpretive trail sites managed by the Trust, as you can see listed here, there's 12 of them. 10 are in Virginia. We have, of course, the Lee's headquarters site in Pennsylvania and Spring Hill, Tennessee. And how we do this is really through a multi-layered method. Obviously, I can't do all of the work. One man cannot manage 11,000 acres. Our very first line of defense in managing our properties is our battlefield farmers. And quite simply, folks, without our farmers, we could not do what it is that we do. They have the equipment, they've got the expertise, and they're local to our battlefield properties. And they are our most valued asset in terms of maintaining our properties. The next line of defense is our local friends groups and our volunteers. Without which we could not do what we do without their eyes and ears on the ground at our parks. We also have a number of sites that we do selective hunting on, and in many cases we will trade the hunting lease for maintenance services from our hunters. In fact, Brandy Station, they are the ones, the hunters there, they're the ones that do all the mowing and maintenance on Brandy Station. And then, of course, we do have contract maintenance where we don't have a farmer. For instance, a place like Lee's headquarters, where we want to maintain it at a high level, we have to have contract maintenance for those sites. And then lastly, down here is my position as the land stewardship manager. And I view my position really as I manage the managers. I would say probably in my 5-day work week, 3 days are probably in the office and the other 2 or 3 days are out in the field, doing a number of inspections and making sure that our contract maintenance folks are doing what they should be doing, that our hunters are doing what they should be doing. And then finally, of course, we've developed a number of really close relationships with our local law enforcement, which are our best eyes and ears, I guess you could say. Now, I'd like to draw your attention of those 12 trail sites that we manage. I'd like to highlight a couple of the ones that are right here between Fredericksburg and Culpeper. There's a little over 2,300 acres that are open to the public, again, 365 days a year from dawn to dusk, just about 12 miles of trail, and it's within a 35-mile area. And we really noticed during the COVID, the first 6 to 8 weeks of COVID, that this was a real asset to the public in this area here, because we saw our visitation numbers double and triple, just anecdotally from my own observations and our contractors and farmers. So it was really an asset to the folks that they had this open space to go and visit. The first of these I'd like to highlight today, of course, is our Slaughter Pen Farm site. As many of you know, this was the most expensive transaction in the Trust's history. It's 208 acres. It's 1.6 miles of trail. As you can see, it's well farmed, but it's also right in the middle of industrial Fredericksburg there, as you can see. And you have the park just to the south of us across the rail line there. And this is a shot up the farm lane towards the main house. But if you go to our website and you pull up one of our the battlefield sites, we have an accompanying interpretive trail system map for each one of the 12 trail sites that we have, and it highlights, you know, where the visitor parking is, the layout of the interpretive trail, where the points of interest are on the trails. And I like to show you, this was a couple years after we had purchased the property. This is in 2010. And there was a total of, I believe the number was 13 farm structures there, as well as the 2 houses. And through a series, we didn't do all this in one bite, but we, in 2013, 2014, and 2017, we did this in phases. And this is what the site looks like today. Just absolutely, completely changed the landscape there, cleared it, and returning it back to the way that it was. This battlefield site is also one that we have regular living history demonstrations during the anniversary of the Fredericksburg battlefield. The little structure that you see there to the right there, that was the old overseer's house. There was some indication that some of the logs inside of that house were actually from the Bernard cabins that were there during the time of the battle. So when we did demolish the structure there, we did save those structures. We don't know for sure, but they sure do seem like they would have dated back to the time, and so we did save those logs from that. And that's the same site right there. And from this shot, you could see where all 5 of the Medal of Honor recipients earned their medals. And I like going back to this site because it lines up perfectly with the very famous painting of Colonel Charles Collis's 114th Pennsylvania Zouaves, where he earned his Medal of Honor as well. And of course, next up is Brandy Station Battlefield here at Fleetwood Hill. You can get some of the most remarkable shots of the Blue Ridge Mountains there, as you can see in the background there from Fleetwood Hill. It's one of my favorite battlefields that we manage. There's a little over 1,000 acres. 3.1 miles of trail are offered here in 3 different segments. You have the St. James Church battlefield, the Brandy Station Fleetwood Hill battlefield section, and Buford's Knoll battlefield there. And again, if you go to our website and you go and click on one of these particular battle you're looking for, where we offer these trails, you will find these accompanying trail maps there. It shows all the monuments, the markers, any historic buildings that are on the property. You'll see there at Buford's Knoll battlefield, the Wilshire House is there, and it's all featured on these maps. This, of course, was the Troilo McMansion that David was referencing. When we purchased it, this was one of my first big projects for the trust, was taking down this baby. And this is what she looks like there today. It's completely gone. We have our trail installed with public parking, and it's just a wonderful place to see that part of Culpeper there. This is part of our trail system that goes back along the St. James Church Trail. These bridges here are rated for horses. You could have a couple horses on there. It'll hold up to about 5,000 or 6,000 pounds. And this extension here, this winter, we do want to cut through those woods there to extend the horse trail back through. So we actually have a connection for the first time between the St. James Church Road and the Buford's Knoll portions of the trail. And these folks here, these are the Liberty Rifles. And I mentioned these folks. They are one of the best reenacting organizations that I've ever come across. Each one of their members are really, really good amateur historians. We use them on occasion when we need to have reenactor presence for some of our programming. But I bring them up because these folks, over the last 3 years, they have been so thankful that we allow them to do their annual battalion drill at Brandy Station. And they have given us over $16,000 on the last 3 years, about $5,000 each time that they come out to do their battalion drill. And it's just a really good partnership that we have with these folks. And next up is Cedar Mountain Battlefield. This is one of my favorite battlefields that we manage. It's 163 acres total. We just added, I believe it's 83 acres, 85 acres, just to the northwest of this map here. We offer 1.22 miles of trail. So you can see the trail map there. And I like this shot of this tree here. Cedar Mountain is one of the places that we have, and the Breakthrough is the other, where we have a number of trees that are really, really good candidates for witness trees. There's several of these out here. But again, I'd like to highlight just the interpretive trail map here. It shows where the cemeteries are located, where a number of the monuments that were placed by the veterans themselves. This particular tree is there by the Stonewall Brigade monument that you see on the map. But the 3rd Wisconsin monument is there on our property as well. And this is a shot of the beginning of the trail here that our Friends group had installed. And it's a well-used trail. This is one of the few trails that in the fall I don't have to blow off with a leaf blower because it's so well used. And this trail leads out, of course, to my 2 very favorite cannons that we own. In fact, it's the only 2 cannons that we own as the trust. But we placed these out on the Cedar Mountain Battlefield in the position that was held by Captain William Pogue, who had a section of 10-pound Parrott rifles there during the battle. And just a quick story about these 2 cannons. We actually acquired these 2 in the Lee's headquarters acquisition there at the hotel. And when we were doing the demolition there of the motel at Lee's headquarters, we took these down to Culpeper. We had them restored and placed out on the battlefield. And one of the members of the Friends group there actually was able to determine that these 2 cannons were a part of the first edition of replica cannons that the Gettysburg National Military Park began putting out on the battlefield that dated back to the 1890s. Of course, everybody after the war wanted to have a cannon in their, in front of their courthouse or in their town square. And the battlefields began running out of cannons to actually place the authentic cannons out on their battlefields. And so they had to start putting out these replica cannons. And this is one of the first editions of those we found out. Now, restoring hallowed ground. This is the part of my job that I really get excited over, and it's the restoration part of what we do. Lee's headquarters, of course, was not only the most expensive restoration that we undertook to date. It was a $625,000 restoration, and that was on top of the actual purchase of the property. But it was also one of the most complicated that we did. Now, I like this shot here. This was a satellite taken in 2013. And as you can see, I had to actually highlight where Lee's headquarters actually is. The Mary Thompson House actually is on the property because it's so dwarfed by all the development of the hotel, the gift shop, and the restaurant there on the site. And once we got going in April of 2016, this is what the place looked like. We were almost finished with the demolition here when this satellite photo was taken. As you can see, we knocked down just about everything there. And the only thing left was the Mary Thompson House. And this shot here, unbelievably, was taken the day after our dedication of the site. Now, I know it's the day after the dedication because we still have the 2 concessionaire tents sitting out there in the field from our dedication ceremony there. And I'm anxiously awaiting the next update to Google Earth's maps, because what's not shown here is the apple orchard that we've installed, as well as the Mary Thompson garden there to the backside of the house. This, of course, is the Mary Thompson house. This is a photograph that was taken just a couple of days after the battle, showing the battle damage to the house. This is what the place looked like the day we acquired it in January of 2015. And those are the two cannons that are now sitting out proudly at Cedar Mountain Battlefield. Those are the two cannons we restored and put out there. And this is Mary Thompson house today after we restored not only the outside of the building, gave it a new roof, but the inside was completely revamped as well. This is a shot of Mary Thompson house with the gift shop there, and this is what she looks like there today with Mary Thompson's garden and everything. Just a complete change of the scenery there for sure. And once we got to this point, I had to ask myself, Matt, what the heck are you doing? I love this photograph because we were really knee deep in it here in this one. And once we got to this point, I wasn't quite sure that we were ever going to quite clean up this place the way that we wanted to. But of course, after a few months, this is what it looked like the spring after our dedication there. So all that has been cleared up and restored back to its original condition here. Next project I'd like to talk about, restoration project, is one of my favorites, is the epicenter of Antietam, the 43-acre Wilson tract that we restored. Was absolutely one of my favorites. As you could see in the distance there to the left, you see the Wilson farmhouse. You see the dilapidated and storm damaged barn that had been sitting there for a number of years, just falling apart, a real safety hazard. But you also have this 450-foot long line of trees that was not historically there. It was a non-historic fence line that got overgrown. And once we began a restoration process, this is what she looks like here today. Completely opens up the battlefield, and you could actually now see the place just as the soldiers saw that. By taking those buildings down and clearing that non-historic fence line out, you are now able to see all the way from the north end of the East Woods all the way to the Dunker Church. You can see the Dunker Church from the horizon line there now, which is just the way that the soldiers saw it that day. This, of course, is the dilapidated barn. And this is actually before we began taking it down. That's how bad the condition of that barn was, how much of a safety hazard it was. And this is what it looks like here today. This photo here was taken just last week. Just absolutely opens up the view shed here of Antietam. And this is our photograph of our restoration of the East Woods portion of the battlefield there. We had a really good partnership between the National Park Service and the Maryland Department of Transportation, whereby the state of Maryland purchased 2,089 trees planted on 7.5 acres to restore the East Woods. And what they do is they also give us a 10-year maintenance contract on it. So absolutely cost-free to the trust, we had the East Woods restored, no charge to the trust. And this here, I like to show this photo here of our park day in 2017, when we erected the fence line there, the historic fence line, restored it back. The fellas there in the blue shirts, they are from an organization called the Descendants of the 88th Pennsylvania Infantry. And they are the descendants of the 88th Pennsylvania that actually fought right here at that fence line. And when they advanced over it, there's a number of accounts that told how difficult it was for the regiment to get over the fence, but also when they were pummeled, when they emerged out of the East Woods, they had to retreat back across this fence line, and they took a number of casualties right here. And it's really neat to see that their descendants are here today, and they helped us put up that fence. This is the fence line that we erected there with the East Woods planting just after we put up the fence. And this is what that looks like here today. This again was taken just last week. And in another 15 or 20 years, we will have a completely restored East Woods. Now, all this property has been transferred to the National Park Service, but it was the trust that did the work. There's no doubting that. And then the last project I want to highlight for everybody is the Breakthrough Battlefield. This project, if you take a look at the satellite here, as you can see, it wasn't just clearing the land, timbering and clearing the land, but we had a 7-acre hog farm. We had about 1,000 feet of railroad to remove. We had a machine shop, a house, a number of silos. There were 4 20,000 bushel silos that had to be removed. And it's really interesting. We've had a lot of good luck with catching these Google Earth satellites just right. If you look down at the bottom there where the circle is, the satellite flew by the day we began starting the timbering process there. So it actually caught us marking our cut line just as we began the project. And this, of course, is what it looked like. I'm sorry, this is a picture of the loading deck that we had. Every penny that we had from that timber cut, it was $200,000 worth of timber that we got off the property. Every bit of that went right back into the ground where we had to then stump grind. All those trees had to be stump grind. We actually had to do that twice. We had to lime the property 3 times to bring the pH level up high enough so it would actually start growing grass again. You just can't go from a forest to meadowland. You got to bring the pH level up or nothing will grow. And that was all part of the process. But this is what she looked like in 2014. And you can see that bare spot right there in the middle. That's where all the 7-acre hog farm was located at. We just had that removed in 2014. And this is what she looks like as of 2018, where it shows where the railroad had been removed. And you can see Fort Welch and Battery 27 right there, where that's part of the Petersburg National Battlefield Park that bounds with our property there. And right in front of Fort Welch, we put this little stake in the ground here. We actually had a little foresight to make sure we were taking photographs all from the same point as we progressed with this. And that's what it looked like in October of 2012, just as we were beginning the operation. And from that same point, that's what it looks like there today. Just absolutely stunning. We open up the battlefield. The entire sixth corps, right sixth corps fit into those fields on that last April 2nd day as they broke through Lee's lines. But it's just an absolutely stunning battlefield there now with a clear view shed all the way across to the Confederate lines. And this, of course, is that same view from Battery 27 there. Just absolutely stunning view of the battlefield. And it actually allows us to interpret it and allows us to have that meaning between being able to show the land as it once was during the battle. Now, just to wrap up quickly here, our current 2020 projects, I just wanted to highlight a couple of those. Ellington Manor, this was at North Anna Battlefield. This house was, this manor was built in 1839. It was the temporary headquarters for General Lee during the battle. It came under pretty intensive artillery fire on May 23rd, 1864. But as you could see, the house was in absolutely horrific shape. There were huge holes in the roofs. The cornice was completely moisture rotted away. The vegetation was beginning to actually eat into the brick there and start separating the brick. So it was in really rough shape. And this was after we had stabilized the structure to Secretary Interior standards. We placed a new roof on her. We repointed a number of portions of the brick chimneys. We ventilated the place, and we've got it mothballed, again, like I said, to Secretary Interior standards. We saved the building from further deterioration. Had we not purchased this place, I would say within a year, that roof was going to collapse in and we would have lost it for good. This is some battle damage from that artillery bombardment. The one on the right there is actually right on the front porch. You can see where a solid shot came in. And we discovered the one on the left there in the rafters of the schoolhouse that's right next to the main manor house. There's a number of places there where you can see battle damage from solid shot going right through the rafters of the schoolhouse. This is a photo of us taking the old roof off. This is the schoolhouse. As you can see, we're about ready to put on the cedar shingle roof. And we cleared away a lot of vegetation from that side of the building there as well. It was just absolutely tearing into these buildings. So you can see this one here. We had to actually brace just out of an abundance of caution. That particular chimney, we decided to brace up just as a reinforcement to the repointing of some of the bricks that we had there. But also, if you take a look at some of the trees, this is also one of the properties that we have undoubtedly some of the best witness trees of any that we own are here on this particular property. It's absolutely stunning trees here. And that's both the schoolhouse and the manor house together. We completed this in May of this year with the assistance of a really generous grant from the local Flippo Foundation there near North Anna. And finally, this is the Joseph Gaber farm. This farmhouse here is at the South Mountain battlefield site. This was a photograph I took the day or shortly after we had just purchased it. We had our renter there was still in the process of moving out. But this particular building was, as you can see, the corrugated roof was just in horrible shape. It was leaking terribly. There was a lot of moisture rot with the German siding. That's actually a log cabin that has German siding to protect the logs on the interior. But it was just in really bad and deteriorating shape. And we just, as of last week, finished our project there. Just last week, we put new cedar shingle roofs on. We repointed a number of areas of the chimneys and the stone chimneys there, brick chimneys. We replaced a lot of the German siding, put new downspouts on her, and gave her a nice new coat of paint throughout the place. But she is, again, another building that was saved, that was on the brink of just about losing it for good. And that's my presentation, folks. I want to thank you for attending. And if you have the inclination to support our efforts and our restoration efforts, please visit our website here at the link we've got highlighted there.